It's John Lund Unleashed. Shout out to Lund loyalists watching on YouTube, those watching on X, Instagram, Facebook, and JohnLundUnleashed.com and the Lund Lunatics, listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe and like John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and keep those alerts on so you don't miss anything. Now here's Johnny.
Game one of the NFL season is in the books, and Dallas had many chances. Tale of two games, really, before the weather delay, which the wussification of the NFL continues. There's a few lightning flashes across the sky, and then we have to have rain delay theater, which is horrendous. I mean, it really does show the difference between who is a professional broadcaster and who is not. I mean, it was just a complete joke. Collinsworth kid. I wouldn't hire him in Laramie, Wyoming. My God, is he terrible. But anyway, I digress. The Eagles and the Cowboys had a shootout going for the first half. Then weather delay happens and nobody can score. And speaking of Collinsworth, I just hate the excuses when somebody doesn't make a play. CeeDee Lamb had a great opportunity to make a play with 2:40 left, dropped the ball that was right in his hands, and then the Eagles blitz at the end. You know what's going to happen. You got one-on-one coverage on the outside. CeeDee Lamb lays out. You got to catch that ball. You know, you hold out. You demand that $35 million a year. You got to make that catch. Any ball that touches your hands, you got to catch that ball. That's a hard catch. Those are the catches. That's why they pay you the money. That's why you're CeeDee Lamb. I said this last night. I said there was two wide receivers in this league that are worth the money. Jefferson and Chase. That's it. Not CeeDee Lamb. He makes easy catches early in the game, wide open, those kind of things. Game's on the line. I mean, there was two balls right there. One was simple. One was tough. You got to make those catches if you're going to beat the Eagles. You didn't. And we've got one in the books. And it was a good game outside of the delay, but we are off there. CMC concern, just see right there. We'll get into that, but a ton to get to tonight in episode 233. And the NFL season is officially underway. 24-20, the Eagles over the Cowboys. Cowboys had a ton of chances. Like I said, if they only had someone who could rush the passer, and maybe they could have beaten the Eagles tonight, but of course they do not. That person is in Green Bay. All right, you see the NFL wire on the top of the Niners tonight, and the reason being, obviously, is because of the NFL being back. So we'll go through that game first. Philly and Dallas, like I said, was a shootout early. Weird start to the game. Before anything can even get started, Jalen Carter gets kicked out of the game, and so Dallas is, I guess we'll just run right at him, which worked. Jalen Carter was kicked out for spitting at Dak Prescott before even a play. And the only reason he had that opportunity is because Philly lost one of their special team aces and their fullback. He gets carted off the field. So in that time, as they're all standing around, Jalen Carter spits on, goes Bill Romanowski, J.J. Stokes on Dak Prescott. He gets kicked out of the game before the damn thing even gets started. Jalen Hurts is underrated, man. He is just like, he's this steady. I mean, I know you hate the Eagles. I get it. But it's absolutely crazy. So we'll get into that as well. The 49ers stuff, CMC concern. And like I said, I've been talking to everybody ever since OTAs and even before OTAs. And I've told you this story. And CMC giving me a dirty look when I was the first one, even back in OTAs, to say, are you healthy? As I stood to the right of him, and he kind of looked at me like, dude, I'm friggin' healthy, all right? Quit asking. And everybody asked and asked and asked and asked and asked. And then, 3 days before the opener, he shows up, calf, and maybe it's nothing, or maybe we have sirens going, woo, 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 because last year, what was it? It was a calf that turned into an Achilles, and all of a sudden we're at calf again. Anyway, that takes the headline over Jennings. I like money. He finally stood in front of the cameras. There was no mention, by the way, of a calf. Brock Purdy talking about being on the same page as JJ. Robert Saleh again talking about the young defense as we go down on the chalkboard. Knowing Seattle, Kubiak, that being Clay, went to the mics today, and that was kind of a fun experience. We'll play that for you a little bit. And honestly, I did dumb stuff when I was growing up, but nothing like what is in the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol tonight. So thanks for waiting. Thanks for staying up late. I didn't want to do the show at the regular 7 p.m. Pacific because I knew everybody was going to be watching Eagles and Cowboys. And like I said, for the first half, it lived up to it. And then we had rain delay theater, and all those people were like, because they didn't know how to handle rain delay theater. And look, it's not easy. I mean, the most difficult one of all time was Steve Tasker, and I was at that Super Bowl in New Orleans. between the Niners and the Ravens, and the lights went out, and they're like, hey, Steve Tasker, take it over. I mean, it's not easy. I've done it a million times with rain delays with the Giants, and you have to go back and forth with rain delay theater, and it's not easy. And, they had an hour to fill, and it's like, God, and it's just, the game's already been talked about. Like everything's been talked out. I wrote a piece this week. In fact, it comes out tomorrow, and I'll put it up on the website at johnlundunleashed.com about how pregame shows are dead. Pregame shows, halftime shows, that all this talking and the ratings show it. The number one pregame show after 31 years is still Fox, but they get about 3.5 million people to watch that show. And you're like, well, that's not bad, until you realize that 24 million people watch the game at 10 o'clock that starts it. So people are just skipping it nowadays, and they're looking at their phones, and plus what's going on all week long. So it's not like back in the day where you used a pregame show to maybe prep for something and you wanted to find out what was going on and injuries and conversations and all those kind of things. You just don't do that anymore. So my point to this whole thing is we're kind of burned out and tired. At least the ratings say this on pregame shows, halftime shows, postgame shows. Like we show up for the game, and then just like right now, the game's over. And so we talk about a lot of different things, but a lot of people just don't hang around, especially for the pregame. So then in the middle of a game that's 24-20 and you're having a great time and you're hanging out and it's the first game of the year and you're having fun and you're watching the action, and all of a sudden here comes Maria Taylor and here comes Jack Collinsworth, who, my God, is completely unqualified to be on TV, let alone a national game like that. And all the talking heads come back, blah, 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 blah. It's like, we've already talked about it the entire offseason, man. Like, we don't want to see you again. So anyway, lots of stuff to get into. DC hit it right on the head. Look, man, you bitch and moan and you want $35 million and you hold out and you get a ball right in your hands with 2:40 left. I mean, right in your hands, and you drop it. I don't care if you're walking around the sidelines, patting yourself on the chest. It's on me. Yeah, it's on you. We already know that, you jackass. Catch the football. And I'm not a Dallas fan. Just watching the game. And then, you get a blitz. You know it's on you. You know what's happening. You see the defense. You know they're blitzing. This is the ball game right now. You know you got one-on-one coverage. Cooper DeJean's on you. You got to step on the guy. You got to lay out and get the football. You got to catch that ball. You just dropped one. And then Chris Collinsworth's jackass. God, it doesn't matter if a guy just makes the worst play ever. Collinsworth is like, man, great game. Tough catch. No shit, Collinsworth. He makes $35 million a year. That ball has got to be caught. You got to pick up your teammate, man. It's a little bit overthrown. Well, you just dropped one right in your hands. That's what sports is all about. You make $35 million. You're supposed to be one of the best in the game. Make the catch. Your team's counting on you. You just traded your best player. You got to upset Philly. You're on the road. They're the Super Bowl champs. Catch the ball. So anyway, and I know everybody hates Dallas. I get it, man. But I'm just saying, as a football fan and watching that game, make the play. I wanted to see something to come down to the last second. And give Philly credit. I think Jalen Hurts was one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. When they talk about the best quarterbacks in the league, and again, I'm just objectively speaking here. We know the top 4 quarterbacks are in the league, but the dude is calm as calm can be. Like he smokes a fatty before the game, and nothing rattles the dude. And even if like at the end of the game, like who didn't know when they spread it out that he was just going to run a quarterback draw? Every freaking person in the stadium. I don't care if you'd been tailgating since 6 a.m. in Philadelphia. I don't care if you were, needing the Rocky statue to keep you up, like, and half asleep. Hey, I'm going to run the quarterback draw here. You knew it. Like, I don't know why you spread out. I'm just jamming the middle. Hey, if you want to throw the ball out to somebody, go ahead. But you're not, like, how do you not have a spy right there? Oh, anyway, it's early in the season. Good game, though. Good game. Good way to start the season. So we'll start NFL wire-wise. Give me your thoughts on the game tonight. NFL is back, except for the delay. Everything was cool. I don't know that I've ever seen a game switch so quickly, though. My God. I mean, just the weirdness of the way it started with the injury, then the spitting. So he's out. Dallas is, you can't stop either teams. They scored on their first 7 possessions. Then after the delay, nobody can score. Just amazing. But anyway, the one thing I will say and relate to this to the 49ers, and you give me your thoughts, is, and I kind of forgotten about this. Darius Slay signs with Pittsburgh, so they're going to have a problem. And Dory Jackson, attack him all day long. He stinks. And all it takes is one defensively. And I like Zach Bond, but let's see if he can do it again. And Jahad Campbell's a really nice player out of Alabama, their other linebacker, 30, but he's a rookie. And then, Jalen Carter, they got exposed a little bit on that. But remember, they lost a bunch of guys. Milton Williams got paid big by New England. I'm not saying he's worth it. Josh Sweat got paid big by Arizona. I mean, when you're successful, and nobody knows this more than 49ers fans, when you're successful, they start picking at you. And they don't have the defense, at least right now, and we'll get into the 49ers defense a little bit later, but they don't have the defense, Philly, that they had last year. Now, maybe they will be because we all know our good friend Vic Fangio is there. But for a night at least, Dallas was going up and down the field, and the only thing that stopped Dallas was Dallas. Their offensive line at times, they're going to get better. I mean, it's again, you're going to see, and you know this, you know how it works, and this is going to be ad nauseum. I'm just going to tell you ahead of time because this happens all the time. How many times announcers are going to go, well, it's early in the season and nobody plays in the preseason, so they're rusty. Shut up. I don't care. Still get paid the same way. Like, pick up a blitz. Pick up a blitz. It's a pretty basic thing. It's like working on, bunts in spring training and, throwing the ball to first base and some pretty basic things. Like, pick up a blitz. Tyler Booker, the rookie out of Alabama, missed a blitz pickup on the final drive. It killed him. It just killed him on the play before the last play to CeeDee Lamb. It just killed him. It was ridiculous. Plus, time management was bad by Dallas at the end. You got to have that play before the fourth down, before the 2-minute warning, or else then so you have the 2-minute warning if you need it, if you don't make the play. And plus, Philly's running around, so then you give them a timeout to get organized. I would have went right for it right there. But anyway, whatever. Good game. So give me your thoughts on tonight's game. Philadelphia did not look dominant, but again, it's early in the season. Clearly, nobody plays in the preseason, so everybody bitches and moans, and it probably takes the first month to get everybody acclimated. A little bit surprised that Dallas played as well as they did. I think offensively, Dallas is going to be decent. I think defensively, you can see they have no pass rush whatsoever. So, Jerry Jones, those first-round picks that they got for Micah Parsons, we'll see. But they have absolutely, positively no juice off the edge. Just nothing. Anyway, good evening. Went on a quick rant to start the show as Philly beats Dallas 24-20. Thursday night football. Plus, we get Chiefs and Chargers tomorrow night, a full slate of college football on Saturday, and then the real slate, the big slate, on Sunday, and Bears and Vikings on Monday. So buckle up. All right, a ton of stuff to get to tonight beyond the beginning of the NFL season. Got a ton of stuff. Got the do we have to panic about Christian McCaffrey? Jennings speaks for the first time. Brock on his relationship on field with JJ. How long is that going to take, if anything? The Kubiaks and Robert SALEH speaks today as well. So we got a ton to get to tonight. So good evening. It is great to have you in. No matter how you are watching, maybe you're watching on John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. That is outstanding. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss anything. Make sure your alerts are on so you don't miss anything. And make sure you hit us with the like before you get out of here tonight. That's all I ask for all this quality entertainment. As far as X is concerned, thank you for watching on X tonight at John Lund Radio. Any questions, comments, thoughts? We got a great chat room and a great community over here. So if you're watching on X, that's great. No problem whatsoever. I love it. But if you come over to the community here on John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, then you can hang out in the chat room. And we have a lot of cool people, and you certainly don't have to agree with me. It is a safe zone. We're only talking sports, so we're not splitting atoms over here. So come on over and join the community. That would be outstanding. All right, before we get to more, and like I said, we got tons of video, a bunch of stuff to talk about, plus a sweet, clean, family-friendly CABOOSE pistol tonight. But I want to take roll call and say hello to everybody. And again, these are people that are hanging out tonight in the chat room at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Want to say hi to Carlos, Niners 94. He's actually on his way to Seattle, so I don't know if Carlos is here anymore, but he checked in early from the airport. James, who says, season's over on the Christian McCaffrey news. We shall see if it is a big deal or not, so we shall see. It is good to see Joy in the room tonight. Joe, it is great to see you, my friend. Eric, who's a Seahawks fan, but we're cool with that, man. Bebop Jones, CD, man. How do you drop the first one, man? It's just right in the breadbasket, man. Poor Jerry. He did it to himself, man. The hell with that guy. Let's see here. Whatever. Let's see. What do we got? Let's see. Good to see Dom in the house tonight. Very nice to see you. Jake is here. Kenneth is here tonight. Very cool. Badger. It's very nice to see. Badger's like, I hope both these teams lose. Very nice, man. Love, by the way, Madison, Wisconsin. What a great college town, man. I've covered a couple of games up there years ago as a sideline reporter. Very, very cool, man. If you're in Madison or if you just maybe went to school there. Giants road trip has some serious potential. Yeah, look, if they get a little bit closer, and I know that Kenny, what are they within 4? I'll start believing them here in a minute, but they are rolling, man. I got to give it to them, man. Hi, 22. It's good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I'll start to jump on that. There's Daniel from the 916 hanging out tonight. It is great to see you, my friend. Who else do we have in the room tonight? And like I said, if I don't acknowledge you now, I certainly will at some point. Die Hard 49ers 707. Good to see you. Yes, sir, I do. We are on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Just check us out, John Lund Unleashed. We are there, so make sure that you check us out. Yes, we make sure that after every show, it is up on the podcast as well, and it automatically goes up there just boom, boom, just minutes after we do the video. So, yeah, you can catch us anytime on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you catch your favorite podcast. Ian, it's good to see you tonight. Who else do we have in the room tonight, man? 420 is here. That is very cool. Enrique, it is very nice to see you. Slavic Niner is here tonight as well. So, again, thanks for checking in. Thanks for everybody for staying up late night with us. And like I said, I didn't want to do the show during the game. We normally do 7 Pacific. But wanted to just make sure that, everybody could enjoy the game and then we could talk about the game afterwards. So, again, NFL Wire early. I didn't play the fancy open for NFL Wire, but I thought we'd start with the opener. And again, really weird opener. In fact, if you didn't see how the thing started. So again, the only reason why Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott were face-to-face was because there was an injury on the opening kickoff. And as they're tending to that player, their fullback and special teams ace, Philly, who ultimately he was carted off the field, Dak and Jalen Carter were face-to-face with each other, and this is what happened. As you can see, there's Carter, there's John back in – oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Let me – you missed the spinning. You missed the Romanowski here. So let me just play that for you. There you go. Boom. So there's a little spinning right there, and they're like, oh, sorry, you got to go. So before there's even a play, Jalen Carter gets booted out of the game, and right away they're like, oh, I think we'll run Javonte Williams up the middle for a while. And it certainly worked. And then everything just kind of flipped, Nobody could score after that. 24-20 after 7 straight possessions of back and forth. Cowboys certainly had some chances. And again, if you missed the end of the game, CeeDee Lamb at about 2:40 left. Dak put one right in the breadbasket on a deep ball. And CeeDee dropped it. And then on a 4th down play, 4th and 3, Eagles come with the blitz. Vic comes with the blitz. And that's a catchable ball. I'm sorry. When you make $35 million and you get your hands on the ball and you're bitching and moaning that, this, that, and the other, you got to catch the ball. And we talked about wide receivers last night. And as I said, I think there's 2. I think there's Jamar Chase. I think there's Justin Jefferson. And I think everybody takes a backseat to that. And I think, CeeDee's a nice player. But that first one is absolutely catchable. And the second one, when you're a player of that caliber and you just dropped one like that, you owe your quarterback one. And you got to catch that ball. And I just can't stand when guys like Collinsworth, who was a receiver himself, sits there and tries to make excuses. I hate when guys say that's a tough catch. Yeah, that's why you get paid the big bucks, man. That's why you make $35 million a season. That's why when we look at the 49ers situation and the 49ers have decided that they're just not going to go down that road and put that much money into that room, that's why. Because you're not getting that many opportunities to make those kind of plays. And when you make those plays, when you're that kind of a guy, I'm screwing up my whole situation as far as my salary structure is concerned for a wide receiver like that. Why can't they sign Micah Parsons, who would have been very useful tonight to try to slow down Jalen Hurts? Because I decided that CeeDee Lamb was more important than Micah Parsons. Huh? That's not an elite position in the NFL. Quarterback, edge rusher, corner, left tackle. Those are the elite positions. Wide receiver is not. And so when you pay a guy like that and he has an opportunity to make a play on the big stage against your rival to start the season on the road, you make that catch, man. You make that first one for sure. And if you don't, then you say, damn it, that ball's in the air. You're like, I am getting that ball. And look, he had both hands on the ball. I'm not saying it's an easy catch. I'm not. Do I catch that ball? Hell no, I don't. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you're CeeDee Lamb and you think you're one of the best in the league. And you're like, I'm holding out till I get my money. Catch the ball. Catch the ball. You're screwing up my salary structure. I put way too much money in your hands. I decided that you were more important than Micah Parsons, who plays an elite position, who would have probably, if I had him on the field tonight, would have won the game for me, and I wouldn't have needed that catch because Jalen Hurts ran all over the place tonight. And I didn't have any pass rush whatsoever. So, anyway. And then as far as Philly is concerned, whatever, Dallas. As far as Philly is concerned, we'll see. I mean, look, game one, you don't make these sweeping conversations about it because what happens is and we're going to hear this from Robert Saleh in just a second, I'm not going to base my entire thought process on what the 49ers defense is going to be on how they play in Seattle because this is a really young defense. And by week 8, I think they're going to be really, really good. Hopefully they can still be in the race by then and win enough games, and their offense can be good enough to where they can carry them for a number of weeks because that's what's going to have to happen in Dallas. But they don't have a defense right now. In Philadelphia, early in the season, I got to double check their schedule. They're going to lose a few games because their defense is going to take a minute. Because if I'm playing Philly next week, Adoree Jackson, who wears 8, every single time. Now, Howie Roseman at some point before the trade deadline later in the season is going to get himself another corner. I can guarantee you that. But right now, they've got a weakness. And last year, they didn't because Darius Slay was playing that position. They let Darius Slay go. He plays for Pittsburgh. Everybody's throwing at Adoree Jackson. You could have 10 of the 11 great players out there. If you have one that can be targeted again and again and again and again. And that's what I'm doing if I'm playing Philadelphia because Adoree Jackson couldn't handle it tonight. And I don't know why they didn't go after him every single play because there's no way. So anyway, great to see everybody tonight. Let's get some reactions from the game, and then we'll get down to the 49ers. I'm trying to delay the conversation about Christian McCaffrey as much as I can. Yeah, I mean, look, they'll get better. And Vic Fangio is a hell of a defensive coordinator, so take advantage of the Eagles early in the season. And that's why if I'm a Dallas fan, which nobody in here probably is, but if I'm a Cowboys fan, I want to vomit because that's a winnable game, and you're on the road. That's a game that you got to win. Let's see. Give me some other thoughts. NBC should get Greg Olsen. I love Greg Olsen, man. I really do. I used to be a big Collinsworth guy, but it's like everybody's the greatest, right? And I said this last night. Everybody's in bed with everybody now, Everybody's, Chris Collinsworth is with Pro Football Focus and he's got this and they got that. And nobody wants to say anything about anybody. Nobody wants to say that anybody made a bad play. Nobody wants to say anything bad about the Shield. Nobody wants to say bad about anything else. Because you know what? ESPN's now the media arm of the NFL, so they're not going to say anything. And Collinsworth's got too many friends, and he's not going to say anything. And if you want access to the team, that week, and you're going to have to face that coach, then you don't want to say anything. And you're going to have to talk to Jalen Hurts at some point if you're Collinsworth because you're going to do another Eagles game. Then you don't want to say anything negative because then Jalen Hurts is going to hear about it through social media or a friend's going to text them or, you know what I mean? Nobody says anything. Nobody tells the truth anymore. Everybody's the greatest. And it's kind of annoying to be completely honest with you, but whatever. I'm not going to be negative. It doesn't bother me. Like I said, the first 7 possessions, the back and forth, it was awesome, wasn't it? Let's be positive. I mean, wasn't it great to have football back tonight? Wasn't it great to have starters play? Wasn't it great to not get bored in the third quarter, except for the delay, of course? But I mean, when they played football tonight, wasn't it cool to have it back? It was. And then I already can't wait till tomorrow night. I mean, I already saw stuff from my good friend Lorenzo Neal. He's in Brazil doing, let's go. I mean, they're doing all this stuff, pumping it up. And I saw Mahomes and I saw Kelsey doing a Mahomes impersonation and everybody's cracking up down there. It's like, let's go, man. You just had a division rival tonight. You're going to have a division rival tomorrow night. Then you're going to have to make some excuse to watch college football all day. And then you got Sunday. Then you got the Bears and the Vikings on Monday. I mean, let's go. Already back, man. This is great. I mean, this is great. So I don't want to complain and be negative about stuff, but I just would like some objectivity every once in a while. I mean, like when CeeDee Lamb drops the ball over the middle, I mean, come on, 2:40 left. And then the second one, it's like, if you're Collinsworth, man, you know what it's like to play that position. You've made that catch. You got to pick up your quarterback, man. You know that's a blitz right there. You got to make, when that ball's coming down and it's in the air and you just dropped one in the breadbasket, you got to make, in your head, you're going, I've got to make this play, man. This is for the game at Philly week 1. And we just traded our superstar player. I have got to pick up our team. I have got to make this catch. Absolutely, positively. So anyway, there's my thought on all of that. That is tonight's game. Give me your thoughts on it as well. I'd love to do that. By the way, let me do this before we get things going. And again, you can always hit me up with a super if you want to get your stuff on the screen. 100%. We have a new member tonight, James Jones. Very nice. By the way, James Jones from San Jose State, the former Green Bay Packer and one-time Raider. Not the same person, but still. And by the way, that is a nice avatar picture of yourself. So everybody welcome James to the house tonight. It is very nice to have you aboard. Thank you, James. Much appreciated, my friend. Yeah, can't wait for the Chiefs and Chargers, man. That's going to be very cool. I love when people start throwing bets up there, man. Look at Daniel from the 916. Lions +3 is my big play of the weekend. All right, let's put a mark on that, because if you start winning games, dude, you'll become the bookie of the show. Like, what generally happens with me is that I'll give you a few and then you bet against me and you can get a new house. I mean, that's generally how it works for me. I say, oh, I really love this one. And then everybody goes, okay. I just go opposite that. Oh, you are talking to me. Let me see. Let me pop this up. Things are moving fast. Bring back a holographic of Summerall and Madden, please. I don't know if Bebop, I don't know if you read my piece. I guess it was last week. I wrote a piece, and I have a new piece coming out this week for Barrett Media. But my national media piece that I wrote last week was it basically had to do with the fact that you're going to be able to, this is a fact because I've talked to some people within the industry, you're going to be able to get to the point with your football watching where you're going to be able to do however you want. So in other words, your screen is going to be whatever game or games. So you're going to be able to, like, you can already do this, but you're like on one screen, you're going to be able to customize it to the point where it's like, okay, here's the 4 games I want. Here's my fantasy team over here on one screen. Here's my betting lines. Here's my betting slip right here. Here's the 4 games I want. Here's my fantasy team. And here's, let's pick out Madden. Let's pick out Summerall, or let's pick out Michaels, or let's pick out, and you'll be able to pick out whoever you want calling the game. That's where it's going. And I've talked to many executives about this, and I wrote a piece, I think it was either last week or the week before, they all run together. I'll repost it at JohnLundUnleashed.com, but you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to actually do that whole thing and say, okay, now I don't know if it's going to be a hologram, but you'll certainly be able to hear it. And you'll just be able to do, I mean, just like in Madden. I mean, if you look at Madden, it's like those guys are just calling a game, and all they did is they went in there a million times and just said all these different phrases and stuff. It's going to be just like Madden. And they're going to be calling the game. I mean, it's just, that's the way it's going to go. Like, you don't have to listen to Collinsworth if you don't want to. You don't have to listen to whatever broadcasters you don't like. You'll be able to customize the game to the exact screen that you want. That's why, like, I get it. And we bitched and moaned, or I did to probably a higher level than I needed to last night about commercials on Red Zone. You're gonna be able to customize it to, honestly, everything you want, the game you want or the games you want, the betting slip, the fantasy football, the scoreboard, the announcers, the whole deal. It's gonna blow your friggin' mind the way this thing is gonna go. So anyway, all right, that's the game tonight. The Eagles, I'm not going to say they should have lost, but 24-20, the Eagles over the Cowboys. Cowboys had many opportunities. CeeDee Lamb does not get it done. All right, as far as the 49ers are concerned, this is the deal, and it scared the hell out of everybody. And let me just say, because I'm not going to necessarily say I was wrong yet, but I told you, man, if you were fantasy drafting, I said, don't worry about CMC. I said it again, and again. So I still don't think this is a big deal, but you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. The alarms went off when I saw this. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because all I ever heard from anybody that I talked to down at 49ers HQ, and every time I went down to practice and training camp this summer, was I just saw CMC. And every time you ask CMC about his health, he was like, after a while, he was like, stop it. And then so we stopped asking CMC, and we would ask Kyle. Or we'd ask Kubiak, or we'd ask Kittle, or we'd ask, somebody, just anybody. And I'll play a little bit for you a little bit later from Kubiak on CMC in just a second. But then this pops up. Matt Mayoko of many, but Mayoko is my favorite. So the 49ers report that Christian McCaffrey was a limited participant in practice due to a calf condition. Now, if this was, as you well know, if this was an ankle, if this was a shoulder, if this was a wrist, if this was a finger, if this was a, head, if this was if this was anything but a calf, right? Because what was last year? Started with a calf, then it went into an Achilles. We know calf goes to Achilles. This is not a calf as in Jauan Jennings has a calf, really wants a contract. McCaffrey already went through this. They already bumped his pay up. This has nothing to do with the contract. Calf is a calf in this case. Not a Jauan Jennings calf. A calf is a calf in this case. So, yeah, it's not great. Now, there's a lot of different things, and I understand why people are jumping to certain conclusions on this because, let's be 100% honest, this ruined their season last year. I mean, it snowballed, and it wasn't just the only thing, but it went from Pearsall shooting to the hold in by Brandon Ayuk to, injuries, weirdness, strangeness, just all the weird things that happened. But at the end of the day, it really was they didn't have Christian McCaffrey to open everything up offensively. They averaged 22.9 points per game. A Kyle Shanahan offense averaged 22.9 points per game. And this season, it's even more critical because we'll hear from Robert Saleh in a minute, but I'm going to tell you what I've been telling you since training camp, and you already know this. This is a really, 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 really young defense. No matter how many they start, there's going to be a lot of contributing members of this defense that are going to be young, especially along the defensive line, and it's going to take a minute. So the Niners early in the season are going to have to outscore teams. And if they don't have Christian McCaffrey, and I like Brian Robinson, and I like Isaac Guerendo, and I like Jordan James, I like those guys. None of them are Christian McCaffrey. None of them demand the attention that Christian McCaffrey demands. You know that. I'm not telling anything you don't know. But also I'm not going to say they have limited wide receivers because they don't. I like Pearsall. Jennings is going to be fine. One of the other receivers will step up. George Kittle's still around. But Christian McCaffrey is to the 49ers. This is an exact comparison, but he's kind of like what Steph Curry is to the Warriors. He has a gravitational pull for the defense. And even if they don't realize it, they're looking at him and they're moving towards him. And what that does is it opens up even these small spaces for other people to operate in. And a linebacker may move even a yard or two this way because that's where McCaffrey's going. And all of a sudden there's Kittle going that way. And you're like, damn it. And that's how the game works, is that you've got a yard here and the ball's right there. And there's a guy just off your shoulder, but you made the catch by that much of a distance. And that's what Christian McCaffrey does. He has a gravitational pull that allows others around him to make plays. And then, by the way, he makes plays, obviously, himself. So if he's not there, or if this is an injury, or if this is a big deal, and I'm just playing worst case scenario. If this is a big deal, this changes a lot. Because I think that the 49ers have to score. I think they have to be, especially early in the season, close to a 30-point team. They've got to be back to where they were a couple of years ago, which is 28, 29 points a game. They got to be up near in the top 5 as far as scoring, at least early in the season. And then the defense will catch up. I think between, 5-6 weeks into this whole thing, I think the defense will then catch up. And then, okay, they can balance things a little bit more. But early in the season, they have got to score points, big time points. I mean, Lund, they got to score points. Oh, aren't you a genius? I just mean, high 20s, low 30s. They've got to be cooking with gas offensively. And if they don't have McCaffrey, it's going to be a problem. So look, I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to do that yet. But again, this is not great when you see that McCaffrey was a limited participant due to a calf condition, which last year, that's how it started, went to an Achilles. I don't think it's that. I have not heard anything like that. I've got a bunch of texts out to people. Nobody thinks it's that. But again, everybody's at the very least, okay? So I just went to worst case scenario. At the very least, your antennas are up, all right? At the very least, the antennas are up. At the very worst, it's, oh, damn, this is going to have a major impact on the season. And we don't know which one it is. I'm going to lean towards our antennas are up. That's what I believe this is. I think Christian McCaffrey is still healthy. This could be a cramp. This could be, whatever. But I'm leaning towards if we had this and panic is here and I'm kind of like right here. All right. Panic is down here. All right. I'm kind of doing one of those things where it's like, your panic-o-meter. So maybe green, orange, red. Okay. If that makes any sense. This is weird. But I'm going to go green like in this. Red, panic, orange, green. I'm right here. All right? And if anything else breaks, I will let you know. But yeah, am I concerned? Hell yeah. I hear a calf. I'm like, ugh. But I'm not going to panic right now. So give me your thoughts on that. But that is the bigger story of the day. In fact, the bigger story was going to be 𝐸𝐿 Jennings speaking today. And then this came out even after everybody spoke today. So what happened was SALEH spoke today. George Kittle spoke today. 𝐸𝐿 Jennings finally spoke today. Like there's all these different people. And then Kubiak spoke today. And I got a little bit on Christian McCaffrey. And then all of a sudden later on, this is after media leaves, everything like that. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, Christian McCaffrey limited calf. And everyone went, what? So we will probably, let's say tomorrow is Friday. We'll get some more information on that tomorrow. And we'll let you know what's going on. So again, as we look at the 49ers on the chalkboard there, CMC calf concern. It's definitely a concern, but I'm not ready to panic just yet. All right. Not ready to panic just yet. Don't be trading him on your fantasy team, everything like that. I'm not going to freak out just yet on Christian McCaffrey. But yeah, I don't love this. I do not love this whatsoever. All right, let's get to some stuff. So if it wasn't for Christian McCaffrey today, we'd be talking about 𝐸𝐿 Jennings. He had not spoken to the media since the cap/contract whole situation, and pretty short, sweet, and to the point. Here is 𝐸𝐿 Jennings. Yesterday or last night during the show, remember, we were yip-yapping away, and he was scheduled to make $7.5 million a few minutes into the show. And I told you this is what was on the table early in training camp, that they were going to bump him up a few $1 million. He was trying to get more than that. And he got bumped up $3 million, easy to get to playing time incentives. So $10.5 million is what the contract is now. Here's 𝐸𝐿 Jennings on getting that bump.
Oh, yeah, I love money. You love money? I love money.
All right, so there it is. He seems to be happy. He seems to be good. If I was a betting man, and I happen to be, I would say that this might be 𝐸𝐿 Jennings' last season because, like I've told you, last season here, because I think that Ricky Pearsall is going to have a great year. I think that Brandon Aiyuk's going to come back and be Brandon Aiyuk when he comes back, whether that's week 6, week 8, something in that neighborhood. And then 𝐸𝐿 Jennings is going to take his position on this team, which I think is going to be a really, really, really high-quality third wide receiver. But those guys don't make $20 million, and I think he's going to go out and try to find greener pastures. Maybe someone will pay him that type of money. I think he'll have a big season. But I'm on record as saying I think Ricky's going to catch 80 balls. And I think once Brandon Aiyuk comes back, he's going to catch his fair share. And I do think that, last year, 𝐸𝐿 Jennings, 75 balls for nearly 1,000 yards. I think 𝐸𝐿 Jennings is going to have a great year. I think he's got a great attitude. I think he's happy that he got bumped up a few more bucks. I think he loves being here. I think he fits well here. I think that he and Brock Purdy are going to get on the same page quickly, and I'll play that for you in just a second. Brock talked about him today. I'm not saying that he won't have a good year. I just think that with the 49ers paying Deebo the kind of money they're still paying him, $34 million not to play, but I need the type of money they're paying him to be injured, at least at the beginning of the season. It just doesn't make sense for them to put that much money into the wide receiver room. So I have an inkling that 𝐸𝐿 Jennings will probably not be here this year or next year. The only thing that would change that is if Ricky Pearsall gets hurt or isn't very good, then you would see 𝐸𝐿 Jennings get the money from the 49ers. So we shall see. Nothing is certainly set in stone. But what you care about is what kind of rapport will 𝐸𝐿 Jennings and Brock Purdy have, given that 𝐸𝐿 Jennings wasn't in camp much. So can they get on the same page quickly so that they can play well together in Seattle? Brock was asked that very question this afternoon.
Really, the energy that 𝐤𝐵 brings, and when he steps on the field, and the dog mentality that he has, it's been great. And then dropping back and trusting in him to be where he needs to be and picking up where we left off, it's been great. So obviously having him back has been sweet, and trying to get him in the right matchups and get him the ball and let him eat. So really excited, that he's back for our team, and obviously as a quarterback, having one of my starting receivers out there. So
how quickly can you get back to where you were before you went out with the injury?
I think it's been pretty smooth so far. I think the practices that we've been together out in the field, we've honestly, like I said, picked up where we left off. I think over time, over the last couple of practices, it's been really good. Just talking about some routes and things and getting reps and throwing them some tight coverage balls, and for him to come down with them, like it's been really good reps and timing and things that we've gotten at practice so far. So obviously a couple more days to get ready for this game together, and we're going to continue to hone in on the details and be ready. But obviously he's been in this situation before where he comes back from an injury and he gets put right back in and he picks up and goes. So JJ is really good with
a few things, and he's a little bit different, and here's one of the reasons why they can easily pick things up, and I'm not concerned whatsoever. Like when Brandon Ayuk comes back, it's going to take a minute. He's been out a lot. They've thrown the ball together, of course, tons of times, but they have a lot of timing situations in what they do, so it's going to be a minute. The reason why Jauan Jennings and Brock Purdy can get on the same page relatively quickly is, first of all, obviously they've played for years together. But the difference between Jauan Jennings and, say, a Pearsall, Jauan Jennings and an Ayuk, is that he doesn't have to be open. I talk about trust with you all the time. Kyle Shanahan, does he trust a certain player? A quarterback has to trust a player to be in a certain position, because Brock Purdy, given, I'm not going to say lack of arm strength, he's not a Chad Pennington, but he's also not, Matthew Stafford or Josh Allen as far as his arm strength. So what is he? He's an anticipatory thrower, which means he puts the ball in the air a lot of times before somebody's even turned around, because he knows that this is where you're supposed to be. This is where I'm going to put the ball. And you see that a lot of times. Brock sees it. That's why everybody talks about the mental side of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy sees it. Therefore, he lets it go a little bit earlier to make up for maybe a little bit of a lack of an arm strength. But it's what Brock sees. Okay, I see on the outside that's where, they're playing an inside leverage. And so he's going to be on the outside. I'm going to throw the ball out there. That's where he should be. He's got to be where he's supposed to be. So with Pearsall, there's more of that. With Ayuk, there's more of that. With Jauan Jennings, he's open when he's not open. And so what happens is that he sees a little bit of a space, but he realizes, and there's a trust factor that with Jauan Jennings' size and physicality, that he feels like even if he's not open, he's open, and he's just going to throw it. So it's not that they don't have to be on the same page. They do, but there's a trust factor with Jauan Jennings that not only is he where he's supposed to be, but if he's not quite as open as the other guys, and he doesn't get necessarily the separation that the other guys get on a consistent basis, he's just going to outfight you for the ball. He's just going to make the play. And so he sees him against a certain player, and he knows that that's a matchup that he's just going to take advantage of. So, for example, if you look at Seattle, Devin Witherspoon's badass out of the slot. He's not a big guy, but he is a tough guy. Tariq Woolen's an interesting one, because Tariq Woolen is about 6'3", maybe 210 pounds, and he runs a 4.26 40. I mean, the guy's big, fast, so that's going to be an interesting one. Job is the other guy that they're going to start. He's not a big guy. He was a guy that cut off a couple teams, went to Alabama. Jauan Jennings is going to probably win that matchup. If you're going to have a safety against him, Jauan Jennings is going to win most of those matchups. Now, Kobe Bryant, not the basketball player, clearly, is a pretty good safety, and they had him at corner for a while, worked at nickel. He's kind of an interesting guy. And then they have another guy named Nick Emenwari, and he's a guy that went to South Carolina. He was a second-round pick for the Seahawks, and he is more of a missile type of run safety. So, again, if Emenwari, who wears Russell Wilson's old number 3 for Seattle, is against him, I think that Brock Purdy would say, yeah, he's going to beat most safeties in the league, and if I'm going to throw it up there, I think he's going to make the play. So that's what I mean, is that, yeah, they need to be on the same page. Don't get me wrong. But he's got a confidence in Jauan Jennings, which is he's going to outfight the guy for the ball. So if he doesn't have quite the separation, and I put the ball up, and let's say I put the ball up and away from that guy, then I believe that Jauan Jennings is going to go up and get that ball. And so there's that to it. And if you look at a lot of his catches, like remember the Rams game last year? He came up over, and I can't remember who the player was. Might have been like Cardell Lake Jr. or something like that. But he just made a play. And that's just kind of what he does. Like, I just trust the guy to make plays, and that's what he does. So anyway, they're going to be on the same page. I'm not worried about it at all. Pearsall and he were on the same page all summer long, and they just looked great in camp once Ricky got into it and got healthy. So I think they'll be okay in the wide receiver way. A couple of weeks ago, I'd have said I'd have been scared as hell, but I think they're going to be fine. So Brock Purdy says they're going to be on the same page. I think they're going to be on the same page. So that's as far as the wide receivers are concerned. So that's where we are on the chalkboard tonight. We went over tonight's game between Philly and Dallas. CMC calf concerns we talked about. Jennings likes money. Brock's on the same page with JJ. Now let's flip over to the other side of the ball. Now there's a couple of things. First of all, let me start back, and then we'll move forward. So let's start in the defensive backfield. Last couple of days, you and I have discussed Upton Stout. third-round pick, Western Kentucky. You know him. You love him. Got into shorts and OTAs. Awesome. Early in camp, before pads. Awesome. Making plays, knocking the ball away. Him and Ricky Pearsall were really going at it. Puts on pads. Okay, he's not very big, 5'8", 185 maybe. I told you early, reminded me of K'Wan Williams was coming up against the run, making plays, all those kind of things. You're not tackling to the ground, but still every single day in press conferences, whether it was SALEH, whether it was Kyle, whether it was talking to John Lynch, whether it was just everybody, he's got the mentality. He's going to win that job. Usually don't talk about that with rookies, but it was just constant about him. And then he gets hurt and he misses all the preseason games. He misses a bunch of practice. And you start thinking to yourself, and, remember, Lucas played great in the preseason games. So you're thinking, is Upton Stout still going to be the starter, especially against a team that's as challenging in the slot as Seattle is? So here's Robert Saleh asked about Upton Stout, and is the rookie third-round pick still the starter at nickel this Sunday in Seattle?
We still have another couple of days of preparation. I think we have a general idea of how this can play out, but whatever little advantage it might give, we'll just hold on to that decision for Sunday.
So Robert Saleh is not telling you anything, but you can see the smirk on his face right there. I would expect. I expected this before, but you can just kind of see that Robert Saleh is kind of. So I think Upton Stout is going to start at nickel, and we'll do this on. Probably put one of these out on Saturday, kind of a keys to the game kind of a thing, as everybody does. And I don't know if it's going to be 1 or 5. It's not going to be 1, but I would think within the top 5 things that I think are going to be keys to winning in Seattle, I'm going to say Upton Stout, because as I've talked about, and you heard from my friend Ian Furness, who covers the Seahawks in Seattle, that Seattle runs their split so tight that really Cooper Kupp, who's made a career out of playing out of the slot, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who caught over 100 passes for Seattle in the slot, and their receivers have changed. No more DK Metcalf, no more Tyler Lockett. But they play such tight splits that really, even though it doesn't really matter who's in the slot, and they could cross right when the ball is snapped, and so you don't know who's really running out of the slot, but they're going to challenge Upton Stout. There's just no doubt. And Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp are quite different receivers. Kupp is a little bit bigger. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a little bit quicker. So we'll see how they do those kind of things. Even Torrey Horton, the rookie out of Colorado State, can run a little bit in the slot. So they're going to look at him and say, look, I know that the 49ers are high on the guy, but he's 5'8", 185 out of Western Kentucky. Can he make the jump? Seattle's going to be loud. Can he make the jump to play some quality receivers out of the slot? And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of tough positions on defense. Maybe outside of, what Fred Warner does and calling the plays and all the responsibilities to Fred Warner, maybe nickel is maybe the second most important position, because you got to go both ways. I mean, you don't have a border on out of bounds. You don't have a boundary to help you defensively. They could go left, they could go right. You got to be good in the nickel, and they'll take advantage of if you're not. So Upton Stout to me is huge. That's why I wanted to play that. And it sounds to me, if I'm just reading stuff, that Robert Saleh is leaning towards, and not really telling us, but leaning towards Upton Stout starting in the slot. And I think that is going to be huge. All right, young defense. We've talked about it a ton. Here's Robert Saleh on how he expects his young defense to respond Sunday in Seattle.
Enjoy the ride, man. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs.
Let me start this.
Put your seatbelt on. Enjoy the ride, man. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs, a lot of really cool moments, a lot of hair-pulling moments, but they're good kids. They work hard. They're fast. They're violent. They love the game of football. They're ready to play, and they're ready for their op.
All right, he is 100% right. Obviously, he knows what's going on there, and he keeps trying to tell us. And what I would warn you to is, if you saw Philly's defense tonight, and you did, you watched the game. It was the opening of the NFL season. Philly tonight, you watched them and you said, they're the Super Bowl champs, but they sure look susceptible defensively. And like we said, Milton Williams went to New England on that defensive line. Josh Sweat went to Arizona. They have a rookie starting at linebacker, Jahad Campbell, who's out of Alabama, but he's a first-round pick, and he's really, really good. Adoree Jackson is attackable at one of the corners where Darius Slay was last year. You start thinking to yourself, hey, you know what? Philly's, their offense is their offense. It's really, really good. But defensively, they just didn't look like the team. Now, remember, 2 years ago, Philly's defense stunk. They bring in our old friend, Vic Fangio. They looked really, really good last year. They win a Super Bowl. And then against Dallas tonight, I mean, Dallas is going up and down the field in the first half before the weather delay. And you're thinking to yourself, damn, they look like they're attackable. They'll get better as the season goes on. Now, they didn't have Jalen Carter because he spit in the face of Dak Prescott, which was absolutely brilliant to start the game. But so, they're going to get better. But it's, how the NFL works. I don't care if it's offense, defense, whatever. Especially if you're young or if you've got a lot of new players that have to gel together, it's just going to take a minute. So they'll get better. Same thing with the 49ers. You cannot expect, now if they do this in week 1 and they just shut down the Seahawks offense, which I think is a pretty decent offense, if they just shut down the Seahawks offense, bravo by Robert Saleh, and he's a god. And I think it really helps that obviously Saleh's around and it's not Nick Sorensen or Steve Wilkes or somebody like that. Saleh fits. He allows Kyle Shanahan not to have to worry so much about the defensive side of the ball. I got a ton of respect for Robert Saleh, and I think they're going to be eventually good. But there's going to be some bumps. And if you don't believe me, Robert Saleh through the entire campus has warned us day after day after day, it's going to be a minute. And he just said, buckle up, ups, downs, but they're violent and they're good. And remember, put it on top of that, the Mikael Williams and CJ West and Upton Stout and Siegel and a lot of these guys have missed time in camp and games in preseason. So they need those reps. Now, can they come out and just be awesome? I mean, other things he said during the press conference today, and obviously I'm not going to run all these, but, he talked more glowingly about Mikael Williams today and talking about how he's going to play outside on the runs, but he's going to play inside in the pass, and he really expects him to be a quality interior pass rusher right out of the gate. And we saw what CJ West could do early in camp. Can he do that again? And he's talked about how Alfred Collins has come around in camp. And we saw what Nick Martin did after the first preseason game. And we saw what Upton Stout did early in camp. And we've seen Marquise Siegel, the rookie athletic safety out of Kansas State. When he moves forward, he can punish people. So, look, they've shown these kind of flashes. If they can do that consistently, and as the season goes on, I think they will. And the game, as they always say, will slow down. I think that they'll be good. But I don't expect them to be great in Seattle week 1. They'll make some mistakes because they're young players. And as Robert Saleh has said, that's what young players do. But let's just hope for the best because these are good players. They're athletic. They've shown a lot of flashes, but it just might take a minute. So I wouldn't panic in week 1 if the defense isn't the typical 49ers defense that you're looking to go because you're going, wait a minute. We brought in Saleh. We spent a bunch of picks on these defenders. What the hell's going on, bro? Sometimes it takes a minute. That's all. All right, this is pretty cool. This is one of the big stories, and then I'll get out to the chat line to see what everybody's talking about tonight as we talk about the NFL season opening, plus the Seahawks and the 49ers going at it on Sunday. So here is, this is cool. So the Kubiaks are going to be OCing against each other on Sunday. Now, obviously, Kyle's still going to be calling the plays, but Clay Kubiak on the side of the 49ers and Clint Kubiak will be calling the plays as the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. So here is Clay Kubiak talking about his relationship with his brother, and then stay till the end on this because this is, and again, this is after practice today. So this is Clay talking about how big Christian McCaffrey will be in this game. And then it was announced after this that he was having a bit of a calf issue.
For space and look forward to seeing him on Sunday. So,
I mean, going back to childhood, I mean, have you had many head-to-head battles?
This will be our third time going against each other in the NFL. Obviously, nothing outside of that. So it's a really cool thing. It's a cool experience. It's pretty rare, so we treasure them for sure. But it's a little awkward during the week, but it'll be fun on Sunday.
Do you try and guess what he's going to do, or how do you play that mental game beforehand?
That's not my job. It's interesting that we're on the same sides of the ball, so we're really not competing against each other. That's for Coach Saleh to figure out, and same for him. So, yeah.
What makes Mike Macdonald's scheme unique and effective?
I mean, they're really well coached. I mean, that's the biggest thing is whether it's unique is one. I mean, it's unique in that they're really well coached. The way all their coverage is tied together, the blitzes tie together, it's a really coherent and cohesive scheme. And you can tell they're really well coached. You can tell they coach detail, and they play very hard. They tackle. They do fundamentals well, but they also challenge you mentally, as a play caller, and they challenge you schematically. So it's definitely one of the best, hardest guys to go up against, and it's going to be a challenge.
Kyle called Christian a psycho in a good way. How would you describe his drive and his to get to this point now after his comeback and where he's at week 1?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything we didn't know he was going to do. You know, he has that gene, whatever it is, where he is just so driven, and he's not going to be deterred from his goal. And it's been awesome to see him just start in the off season and just carry him through training camp to where he's at now. You know, and so just a lot of respect for Christian and how he takes care of himself, how he prepares, and whatever word you want to use. Yeah, he's unique in that way. So,
all right, so there you go. So there's two things. First of all, he stole my hat. He had the exact hat on. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm encouraged again. Just let's go back to the Christian McCaffrey because that's the big story of the day for the 49ers. And again, if you're just joining us, the 49ers report that Christian McCaffrey was a limited participant in practice due to a calf condition, which was a problem last year. So yeah, that scares everybody. But again, this was after practice. That interview was after practice. So, and George Kittle talked in the locker room today about Christian McCaffrey. So I'm not saying it's nothing to worry about, but when I did my kind of meter here, and again, this is redlining, this is orange, this is green, right? And that's the panicometer. And I'm here in the green of it because I just heard Kubiak, as you did, and saw Kubiak speak about Christian McCaffrey, and he didn't speak in a past tense. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't going like nervous about it. He talked like he's playing, he's starting. There's no big deal. So again, until I hear something other than that, and look, everybody's trying to get clicks and everything like that, but I'm not going to make you panic. I'm not going to sit here and freak out because I've heard all these things from OTAs on that healthy from everybody. Such to the point where, as a media, we stopped asking Christian about it. So maybe this is just a small tweak or something like that, nothing to worry about. And again, you hear calf, especially after what happened last year, and everybody freaks out and panics, and fantasy people are freaking out, panicking, and all that kind of stuff. But until I hear otherwise, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to freak out, not going to panic. It just doesn't make sense. But it is what it is. And yeah, when you hear that, you're going to go, ugh. But then you hear Kubiak, and you go, okay, doesn't sound like he's concerned about it. So who knows? We'll see. And we'll find out more as it goes on. Yeah, it could be a cramp. I don't know. Could be more. I don't know. But I know why everybody, red lines right away. I'm not going to do that because Kittle didn't seem concerned about it in the locker room. Not that anybody knew about it at that point. And Kubiak didn't say anything like, well, we'll see. He didn't indicate anything to anybody. So we'll find out. But it doesn't seem at this point it's a big deal. But again, when you see something like this, everybody's going to do the same thing. Like, oh, what? So I get it. And that is the top story around the 49ers tonight. And until we completely hear like, it's fine, I know that it's kind of going to be in the back of everybody's mind. But in hearing Kubiak there, it's kind of like, okay, we'll see. The other part of Kubiak is, how cool is that, man? Again, we know the Gary Kubiak connection, the Broncos connection, the Kyle connection, the McCaffrey connection, but the Kubiak connection's in there. And yeah, Clint Kubiak. And again, Robert Saleh talked about this today. They're running a strong version of what Kyle runs, and they're going to try to run the football, and it's going to be mirror imaged. And, there's going to be different things. But think about it. Sam Darnold, who got resurrected really 2 years ago with the 49ers, then went to Minnesota, had a success, and then he signs with the Seahawks. Had a lot of success in a very similar system in Minnesota under Kevin O'Connell. So he's going to obviously sign in a system that he knows, which was what they ran here, what they ran in Minnesota, and what they're now running in Seattle. They want to run the football. They don't want to put Sam in those, in those kind of situations. And it's the same thing with Brock Purdy. So both teams want to run. And as boring as it sounds, it's going to be Seattle, who thinks they have a revamped offensive line, spent some money on it. In fact, they just re-signed their right tackle to a big contract, Abe Lucas today. They drafted 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐿, their left guard out of North Dakota State, in the first round. So they think they've revamped things. The Niners have a bunch of young guys on their defensive line. So how are they going to be able to handle a run game that had a good preseason, but a lot of times that means nothing. We'll see. And then it comes down to, is Sam Darnold the real deal? He had one good year in Minnesota running this type of system. They're running that system, same thing in Seattle. And you got two Kubiaks who kind of are on the same page as far as that. But Kyle's the play caller. And then you're going up against a guy, and what you just heard from Kubiak and Mike McDonald, who's the same guy that, even though he had different personnel, shut down the 49ers when the Ravens came into town a couple of holidays ago. So Mike Macdonald's a really good defensive mind, and that's why it's going to be a really intriguing game. And oh, by the way, and the NFL's trying to do this to, not that we wouldn't be stirred up anyway because it's week number 1, but you saw Dallas and Philly tonight. You're going to see the Chargers and Chiefs tomorrow night. You're seeing the Seahawks and the 49ers. I mean, they're hitting off with a bang. Like, let's go. Let's get right to division games. So it's huge. Sunday is absolutely a huge game. Lots of cool storylines, the Kubiaks and all the different things. And, I've talked to some friends of mine in Seattle. I don't know if you agree with me. And I get it. It's the Rams, and, we hate the Lakers, and we certainly hate the Dodgers. But, to me, from a football standpoint, and I know I don't like Sean McVay and all that kind of stuff, and it's been a fight with the Rams and the Niners and all that kind of stuff. I still consider the Seahawks the team that you like the least. I don't know. There's still that residual from Harbaugh and Carroll, but it's kind of, even though it's not those guys anymore, it's two similar teams that want to be really physical with each other. And that's what's going to determine who wins on Sunday. So that's kind of how I see this game. Give me your thoughts on it as well. So there you go. So again, CMC calf concern. Jennings likes money. Brock is on the same page with JJ. SALEH says the defense will take time, so don't freak out. And the Kubiaks talk Kubiak. And then we went over the Thursday night game tonight, and then you get bonus coverage. So hopefully, I don't know how you're going to pull this off, but you pulled off tonight. You said it's the opener, honey. You got to watch it. Tomorrow night, you got the same excuse. Saturday, maybe you'll take a break with college ball. There's not the great game. There's not a Texas-Ohio State this Saturday. And then Sunday, ball all day. And then that Bears-Vikings game, very intriguing. Caleb Williams in his second year. J.J. McCarthy in his first start. That's going to be a good Monday night game, too. So lots of good stuff going on. All right, before we hit the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol, questions, comments, or thoughts, make sure they hit any questions or comments or thoughts. And again, if you want to get a super on the board, support the show and get your thoughts 100% on the board, just hit us with the super during that. Let's get some thoughts here before we get to some sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol stuff. What do you got? Your questions, comments, or thoughts? Tim B, it's great to see you, man. Yeah, officially questionable. I'd be shocked if he didn't play. But we'll see. Let's see, what else do we got today? Yeah, I like 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐞𝐿. I hate to say that because he's from North Dakota State, the home of one Trey Lance. And you know what's crazy? Their center, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿, he is a free agent from North Dakota State. So their center and their left guard, North Dakota State, the home of Trey Lance. Let's see, what else do we have? Questions, comments, thoughts? Let's see. It's always funny because I'm working from the bottom, and so I'm seeing some of these conversations, and if I don't see the top of it, then I'm seeing obviously like 10 things into it, and it's like I'm trying to catch up on them at the same time. By the way, did I say everybody say hello to James Jones? He's new in the building, so it's very nice. James, I hope you stay with us. Very cool. Filthy Casual, I didn't say hello to you, so it's nice to see you. There's another Christopher in the house. Very nice to see you, my friend. Very, very cool. Let's see, what else do we have? I know everybody's praying tonight. CMC, please be okay. Oh, you got your fantasy team. And for your team's minnow. I know, that's the worst, too. Early in the season, you get an injury or something like that. My God, man. It's brutal. Just brutal. Hi, Tony. It's good to see you. Let's see. Do we got anything else tonight on the game or anything 49ers related? I think we're good. Okay. You ready for some sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol? By the way, before I do that, don't go anywhere because here's what we're doing tomorrow night. You got to be here for tomorrow night's show. So what we're going to do is, I'll do a Saturday show too. Remember, 10 a.m. on Saturdays for John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. What we'll do on Saturday is we'll do a full-blown kind of a pregame show for Niners and Seahawks. Then we'll do a postgame show for Niners Seahawks on Sunday. So we'll be doing 7 days this week. But Saturday, what we'll do is we'll do a full preview show. But Friday, I told you what we're going to do is we want your unequivocal wins and losses for the 49ers. Speak now or forever hold your peace. We want a sleeper player who you think are give me one for the Niners, give me one for the season. What else did we say we wanted to talk about? Maybe your Super Bowl prediction, something like that. So we'll do like a full-blown, like whole NFL preview show tomorrow night. And then Saturday, we'll do the week 1 preview show. Then Sunday, we'll do a post-game show for the 49ers and the Seahawks on Sunday night. So that's what we'll do as far as that goes. Make sense? All right, let's do this. If you're new around here on John Lund Unleashed, or if you're watching for the first time on X at John Lund Radio, we always appreciate things. And oh, by the way, if you're watching later, you can hit us with questions, comments, or thoughts right underneath the show, or right here on YouTube, or you can hit us on X where I am often. But we always end the show with a little bit of fun. Been doing this for years on the radio as well. We always hit you up with the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol.
John Lund Unleashed presents the Caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old Caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say Caboose?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there.
Yeah. Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
Not a weirdo, I just report the news. We all do dumb things growing up, right? I can think of like 10 right off the top of my head, but especially in college, I did a lot of dumb stuff. And, nothing really that harmed anybody, just dumb stuff where you look back on it and like, God, that was a really dumb thing. It was a really dumb thing. Like, I'll give you one just off the top of my head. This just came in, top of the head. We were at an amusement park one time, not Disneyland or anything, but just, a local amusement park. And we saw that they were doing, just like basic, stamps to get into the thing. And so we were like, well, why don't we just get one stamp and then we'll just kind of, put some water on it and we'll just stamp everybody else's hand. And so we did it. But what we weren't realizing was they did it on a specific hand. So I think we did it. It was on the right hand. And then we did the stamps back on the left hand. And so we were going on all the rides and we're like 3/4 of the way through the night. And then finally somebody stops us and goes, you got on the wrong hand. And then they saw that all of us had on the wrong hand. And then they pulled over security. And of course, they couldn't catch us all, right? So we all thought, we'll just spread out. Well, of course, they catch me. So I get out to the parking lot, and I'm so stupid. I dive literally under a car, and it's the summertime, so I get all this rash under me, right? And so I'm like in all this pain, and I'm trying to be quiet. And then, of course, the cops see me, and they have to call my dad. And it's like, I don't know, it's like 1:00 in the morning. And you know how pissed he is. And I'm like 15 years old or something. And he is just pissed, right? And he's just like, how dumb are you? And I think to get into the park, this amusement park, B-list amusement park, might have been $12 or something, or $10 or something, just really cheap. And he's like, you get me out of bed on like a Saturday night at 2:00 in the morning. I drive he has to drive like an hour to get to this place, drives me home. And it's just the dumbest thing. And then I got rash all over me from diving under a car. It was just one of the dumber things I've ever done, right? I've done 100 things like that probably. But then I see this today and I think to myself, my God, as a parent, before I show you this, as a parent, you'd be like, where did I go wrong? Like, seriously, where did I go wrong here? Because look at this. 2 friends agree to shoot each other in the head while wearing Kevlar helmets, and one now is charged with murder. Like, where would you go? And apparently these 2 guys are sober. And I mean, that guy doesn't look like an 18-year-old. I mean, what is that guy like 30, 35 years old? Maybe not that old, but I mean, 25, 30 years old, maybe even older than that. I don't know. But I mean, to think to yourselves, and I've smoked my share of weed too. And it's like, hey, you know what? Let's put on Kevlar helmets and shoot each other in the head. I mean, really? I mean, I can't, honestly, if I could think of the 100 things that I've done dumb in my life and combine them all, it would not equal that. 2 friends agree to shoot each other in the head while wearing Kevlar helmets, and now one is charged with murder. Like, really? And, I don't mean to sound like get off my lawn guy, but my dad always used to tell me, my dad was famous for saying this. He would look at me when I did something stupid, and he would say, what's the point? and sometimes I say, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes there just isn't a point, and you're just having fun, or maybe you're high, or maybe whatever the case may be. It's like, really? Because again, what's the downside of that? Like, if it works, it's like, wow, cool. If there's a downside, and really a lot of this has really happened because of social media. Like, hey, let's do this for social media. Maybe we'll get 1 million hits or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous, right? You see people all the time, these stories where like people are trying to take selfies and then they fall off something. They roll down, like a canyon or something, they die, or they fall off something. But it's like, would nothing in your brain stop you when you thought about that and you put on a Kevlar helmet and you said, but if this didn't work, then one of us dies, or like I die. It's like, I don't think I want to do that. I mean, you'd have to be really high, like, like sheets of acid, or lots of mushrooms. I mean, this isn't just like you smoked a fatty. Like that's one of the, I mean, I was going to say that's one of the dumbest. That's the dumbest. Like that's the dumbest. So anyway, there's that. See, I told you this the other night. There's scams everywhere. It seems older people definitely, because anything, I told you this yesterday. A person called me. I'd just gotten out of bed. I was doing some stuff, having some coffee. It's about 9 a.m. and I get this call on my phone, and a lady calls up and says, "Hi, this is so-and-so and so-and-so. You owe a medical bill of, $85. Can I have your credit card number?" And I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I go, you can give me the website and you can give me the bill number and all these different things, and I'll look it up. And if I owe it, I'll pay it. But I go, you're not calling me up asking for my credit card number. And then all of a sudden, midway through me saying that, click, hang up. Of course, they're trying to scam you. I mean, it's just constant. And emails and all these kind of things. I mean, they're really good. They'll put the logo. I said this the other day. They'll put, if it's Wells Fargo or whatever, they'll use the images and everything. And it's hard sometimes to tell. But then you see something like this. A Japanese woman, 80, of course, an older person, scammed out of thousands by astronauts stranded in space who needed money for oxygen. Like, would you not think for just a second, like, wait a minute. I need oxygen quickly. Give me your credit card number. I don't know. You just might think. But he got scammed out of money. Guy said that he needed oxygen. He was stranded in space. Please, I need your credit card immediately. Like, seriously, I don't want to get old because, maybe your brain stops working. Your logic goes out the window sometimes. Like, oh my God, I got to hurry up. I had an older person like got scammed on a Bitcoin thing. And it was just like, my God, and I got to run, I got to run to a Bitcoin and I got to give you the money. And it's like, can you imagine? Like, it's an astronaut. I need oxygen immediately. Give me your credit card number. It's like, will you stop? My God, give me a break. Anyway, there's that. And then finally, this is kind of funny. I had this sent to me today, by the way. You just got to watch it. I don't know if somebody scraped that off by, if that was an accident or those really did fade. I think that somebody probably just scraped that off. But anyway, you can try it if you want to. I'm not asking you to. If you like it, that's fine. But there you go. You see that sometimes on like at night or something, and maybe light bulbs will burn out, and you get stuff like that. That's pretty funny. But anyway, if you're on a walk, that would be kind of funny, right? If you're just walking along and you're like, oh, really? Country Canal, I think that's what it said, right? Country Canal. And then some smart ass kind of walked there. That's something I would have done in my youth. See, that's what I mean. I wouldn't have had a Kevlar helmet on and shot each other in the head, but something like that. I probably would have taken some paint thinner and, turned Country Canal into Triangle. I probably would have done something like that. Like that's the extent of what I would have done. That's something that would have been up my alley, not the whole Kevlar helmet there. Like I wouldn't have done that. But this, yeah, I probably would have done that. That's the extent of me. So anyway, there's our sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose Pistol 4 episode 233. So we went over the NFL wire. The NFL is back. Philly and Dallas. Shootout early, and then nobody could score. Weirdest thing I've seen in a while before they even ran a play. There's Jalen Carter spitting. Wait. I have to start this again? Yeah, I do. Here we go. Do it again. As they're tending to an injured player, here comes Jalen Carter, and he spits, and he gets kicked out of the game. And so that was before the game even started. Dallas had many opportunities. CeeDee Lamb with a straight drop with 2:40 left, and then could have made a play on fourth down. Could not do it. I shouldn't bring up money, but $35 million, you probably need to make that catch. Philly, not great on the defensive side. We'll see. Jalen Hurts is really good. You can hate him all you want, but he's very calm and makes a lot of great plays. The tush push, I don't know what you think of that. Again, I don't know. Do they win tonight if they don't get the tush push? If that thing is kicked out of the game, do they win tonight? I think they nailed it, 3 or 4 times. They got it tonight. And then as far as the 49ers are concerned, CMC's calf concern, we got to keep an eye on that before Sunday in Seattle. He's officially questionable. Juwan Jennings with the line of the day. First time he's talked since he got his contract redone.
Oh, yeah, I love money. You love money? I love money.
I'm with you, man. So he gets his contract redone. He loves himself some money. Brock is on the same page with JJ. He says, we heard from Robert Saleh tonight on the show. D's going to take some time. And the Kubiaks talking Kubiak, and then your sweet, clean family friend, the Caboose Pistol, dumbasses, and try anal. And there you go. That is your episode 233. So again, think about Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Peace for tomorrow night's show, as we'll talk about what you expect out of the 49ers this season. We'll talk about sleepers. We'll talk about the entire NFL. We'll get into that kind of stuff as well. So be here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Pacific time, and we'll have a lot of fun with that. Then Saturday, we'll do kind of a preview show. Sunday, we'll have the post-game show for you right here on John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Thanks tonight for watching on X. If you're watching on X, please consider in the future to come over to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and subscribe. Please make sure you have those alerts on. And please, before you get out of here tonight, it would be great if you gave us a like. That would be dandy as well. And please spread the word so we can grow the community to your friends and enemies alike. That would be outstanding. Any questions, comments, thoughts before we get out of here? If you've got any and you're watching later, please hit us right underneath the show. I'll get back to you on the comments, and you can also hit us up as well on X, where I am often. And again, welcome to James, who's new to the show. If you're new, make sure that you let us know that you're new hanging out in here. We would love to say hello and welcome you to the community, as we did with James. All right. Anything else for anybody? Krug on. Very cool. Yeah, me and Krug got to get together. Me and Damon got to get together too, because I'm often on the show and I always enjoy it every single time. So we got to get together. So anyway, everybody have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk tomorrow unless there is breaking news, and then we'll jump in early. If there's anything on Christian McCaffrey, keep your alerts on, because I will let you know. We won't have to do a full show on that. I will hit you up on that as soon as I hear something on Christian McCaffrey. So keep those alerts on at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. All right. Short of that, everybody have a wonderful rest of your Thursday and enjoy Chargers and Chiefs tomorrow night. We got Eagles and Cowboys out of the way. The Eagles squeak by 24-20, thanks to the butterfingers of one CeeDee Lamb. Everybody have a great rest of your Thursday night.